All right, my Z Warriors, we are back here on the channel, and today, yes, we got some more news from Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. So let's put that on screen. Yes, before we get into the videos, do us a favor, hit that like button. Also, subscribe here to our YouTube channel where we are doing our very best to share our love and passion for things Dragon Ball Z Kakarot related. As of this stands right now, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is my favorite Dragon Ball Z game so far. Having said that, things could change when a certain game called Budokai Tenkaichi comes back, but that's far ways away. So right now we're going to concentrate on this because it's been a minute and I've been wanting to get some more news, and here we go. So all credit, of course, goes to Hype, DBS Hype here, of course. So if you haven't yet, do follow him as he does cover the news for everything Dragon Ball, essentially. But we got this. So we'll go over here and then drop our 2 zeni and give our conclusion. So DBZ Kakarot DLC 5 V-Jump page featuring new gameplay screenshots. Let's go. So let's hit that picture and kind of go over this as best as we can. So we see, I believe the top 2 here are actually in-game cutscenes, which is awesome. I mean, Goku again looks so different because he looks so much younger, less defined in terms of his muscular stature that we get in the main game, and of course Piccolo also looks kind of really different here. Now, of course, I don't know Japanese, but we'll get into that a little bit later. There is a bunch of information here that thankfully we do have some sort of info on what it is and or just 100% translated. Now, next out here we have, of course, Tien Han there, and Tao, General Tao right here beside him. So that looks pretty cool. I am not sure if we're going to actually be able to fight and or be as them, but we'll get to that in a minute, at least from my initial thought there. Of course, you have Piccolo there looking all different. And then you see here, this looks like they're floating and or he's about to attack. And of course there. Now, another picture of Tien Han here, and another bottom left there of some sort of mechanic, dash mechanic. I had mentioned before that we might have like a dash mechanic where we can get out of the way. But again, everything seems ground-based. And then you have this right side picture inserted here, which I think is going to be the other thing that we'll cover here. But now, in response to that, as I was scrolling through the actual comments here, we had this. We had Matef, or Matef Grimes. So shout out to you, my Z Warrior. It looks like he's got a translation. So what we did was put that up here. And I'm going to take this with a grain of salt, but if it's translated, then this is kind of what we're getting here. So it does say Japanese to English, and I think this is a screenshot from what he did. And I didn't know that there was apps that could do that. I guess there is. So what I had done here is try to blow up the shot here. So I'm going to open up another screen that'll take over this one. And we have a more of a zoomed in look. So we'll start from the top, of course, Tenkaichi Budokai. So this is the translations that we get so far. So it says Kakarot, Dragon Ball Z, latest DLC information, Kroot now on sale. Some of this is going to be really blurry, but again, I'm just trying to zoom in here. What we have, the manufacturer, Bandai Namco, action. So here, relive memorable battles with additional DLC scenarios. Huh, that is interesting. So is this where they're going to start these what ifs? I'm not sure what they mean by DLC scenarios. I would be 100% up for what if moments, whether that be outside, anything that takes outside the tournament, afterwards, and or even prior. I'm all for it. Like I said, any new Dragon Ball Z Kakarot content, I am all for. We'll go down here. The next is Boy, Goku, and Piccolo. Can't make out the second theme there over there, but it says year is Goku. Atsu Budokai face. The showdown is this spot. Here we go again, 5th DLC, the turbulent Tenkaichi Budokai, because of God Goku, who has been, again, I can't read that out, but it says here, shooting Kamehameha waves from his feet and charging. What? That is probably what is happening here. Because when I initially looked at it, I'm like, I don't know what that is. Is he just floating? Is that how the combat's going to be? Is there a cutscene? Like I mentioned, a lot of the attacks here are cutscene based. So I thought that was just a cutscene, but no. We're going to be shooting a Kamehameha wave from his feet, like he did, of course, from the... Because I've seen clips of it. I haven't watched Dragon Ball, but I've seen clips of it. And this looks awesome. It says here, Goku's new technique. Now, of course, this is new technique back then, right? It says also here, speed up assault Kamehameha. Here is the big news. My Z Warriors, Tenshin Han is now a playable character. Yes, let's go! I'm not the hugest fan of Tenshin Han or Tien, but to have a new playable character, that is awesome. Because right now in the base game, we only have 5 playable characters, that being Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, and Trunks, with the rest being support characters. And one of them, of course, is Tenshin Han. One thing that we want, or what we wanted, was to have an actual playable character, or using the support characters as a playable character. And now they're saying that we can play Tenshin Han. So it says here, Tenshin Han was only a support in the back, and it now be made something. Let's experience the battle with the opponent, Tao Pai Pai. So it says here also, Dragon Ball ZK was not in the main story. So challenge powerful enemies in ground battles. There you go. That's the confirmation that we're waiting for. Not that we didn't know it was, because according to the scans, it looked like it was ground. But here it goes. Challenge powerful enemies in ground battles. So one of the questions is now, will this carry over to the main game? I don't think so. I think this is just going to be self-contained. It's going to be just within this DLC. Everything's going to be ground-based. Having said that, I mentioned this before, this can open up the Tournament of Power, which was also taken on the ground. And again, these DLCs have been kind of self-contained. Yeah, there's some certain things that you can take back. Like in the Trunks DLC, you took back his Super Saiyan 2. He took back his attacks there. But, having said that, is it possible that we'll get actually these techniques that are new from this DLC back into the... Because this happens in the past. There should be no reason why they can't add these, in my opinion. Unless there are... It kind of involves the ground mechanic itself, which I don't think they're going to put into the main game. Again, I feel like this is going to be self-contained, which is, you know what, I'm okay. If it's self-contained, that's just this new content. I just recently did a playthrough, or I'm still doing a playthrough of, as of this video, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, where we started from Bodokai. Bodokai from Bardock, I should say. I don't need Bodokai. From Bardock. And after that, we went through the main story up to Cell Saga. Then we hit over the Trunks. And then now we're finishing off DLC 2. And then we're going to start over again. So this is just going to add more replayability to me. Because I wouldn't mind then starting going Bardock, then Bodokai Tenkaichi Tournament, and then so on and so forth. Because I've mentioned this before, I love this game. I have about almost 600 hours logged now in this game. I don't mind replaying it because the way that Kakarot tells a story is just super awesome. But now, the big news is we can definitely beat Tenshin Han now, and that is just so awesome. I can't wait to see his movesets, what we can do with him. And the question is, how are we going to power up his skill tree? I mentioned this before in one of the videos that I did, is how we're going to gain orbs. How we're going to farm orbs so that we can work on his skill tree. I mean, there's not a lot of battles that happen. So usually what happens in the battles in Kakarot is you get granted orbs, but you still have to somewhat quote unquote grind them or farm them. So I'm wondering how that's going to look like. And we're just going to have to wait and see. And here it is. That next news here was over 6 million copies worldwide. A super hit that was sold. Experience the story of Goku and his friends in Dragon Ball Z. Enjoy additional scenarios with DLC experience. The hit work yourself. guess that's the translation, how it looks like. So become Goku himself. Of course, Meals Fishing is just talking about that main game. So again, super, super exciting that we get the confirmation that we can be Tenshin Han now, and that it is going to be quote unquote ground combat, which again we sort of already figured, but that is the translation right there. Again, huge shout out to Matif here, Matif Grimes, who did the translation. So I'm going to close this window, go back here to the non-zoomed in, then head back over here, because in speaking of the 600 over here, that what this translation was, CBS did actually just say Dragon Ball Z Kakarot has sold 6 million copies worldwide. Again, one of my favorite games, and there's a reason for it. Now, we don't know much about Budokai Tenkaichi. There's a huge wish list, of course, especially to those who have played it. But as it stands right now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is one of my favorite games, and I will keep replaying it because I feel it does have the replayability for me. And this new DLC is just going to add on to that. Plus, there is one more DLC in Season 2. And I feel that the success of this Season Pass, which will jumpstart even more Season Passes, really relies on how well they do in these next 2 DLCs. So Bardock was great. I loved Bardock. I absolutely enjoyed playing through that story, even though we knew what was going to happen. Same here, we know what was going to happen. But it's the experience. That's what Dragon Ball Z Kakarot does. It's the experience. It gives you a new way of experiencing the gameplay, of course, but also the story via the only way Kakarot does it, which is those cinematic finishes, those cinematic look at it. And it really does capture the feeling of Dragon Ball Z. And we'll have to see. My Z Warriors, we are getting some more news, and I believe this is probably going to release probably sometime in probably the second or third quarter. We're coming to the end of the first quarter already, so probably second quarter, end of, and or beginning of third quarter is what I feel. And then hopefully within the third quarter to fourth quarter of this year, we will find out what the next DLC is. So super, super excited. So with that said, we're going to leave the video at that, and we'll do again our very best to cover anything that comes out. So my Z Warriors, do me a favor, hit that like button, comment below, let us know what you think of being able to play as Tenshin Han, Tien, and of course, subscribe here to our YouTube channel, where we do, like I said, our very best to cover things that we love and have passion for, and one of them, of course, is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. So until the next video, my Z Warriors, keep training.